Picture ID, credit card, and floor preferences. Is that really what makes a great check-in? There are two pieces to each guest check-in and registration process, and it's essential part and there's a memorable part. And that's exactly what we're going to discuss in this video. Welcome to Hospitality Learning Online. Today we're going to discuss one of the most important aspects of the guest stay, the arrival experience. Arrival is very important because it sets the tone for the future of the guest stay. It shows who you are, who your property is, and if that first impression is not great, the guest is already expecting things not to go great during the stay. Arrival process consists of two parts, essential and memorable. Essential part is just the transactions. You will have to ask for the picture ID, you will need to ask your guest about the floor preference, about the credit card or form of payment. It's nothing that makes the guest stay special. However, the memorable part is where you can put your signature on your guest stay. This is when you can personalize it. This is when you can use this time to really get to know your guest and ultimately impact your check-in scores and the check-in scores of your front office team and the check-in scores of your hotel. Before we jump in and discussing essential and memorable parts in the details, here's our arrival experience model. So as you can see, you have two areas that you need to cover. As we already touched on this subject, the essential is something that you must do to complete the check-in, and memorable is something that you need to do to get the wow experience and build that human and personalized connection with your guest and just avoid robotic transactions. So let's review essential parts first. What is the part of the essential process? Of course, greeting your guests to the hotel. And a lot of it, I see the words you can use depending on the country you're at and what you're comfortable with. I personally prefer when we say welcome. Welcome to Marriott, welcome to Hilton, welcome to Hyatt, welcome to DoubleTree, opposed to good morning, good evening. I just don't feel it's as welcoming as it is. And of course, one of the most common mistakes and errors that we do at the front desk is when we see guests as entering from the lobby, just arrive to the hotel with a suitcase, waiting in the line at the hotel, and the first thing we ask the guest, checking in? No, I'm just hanging out here. Of course he is checking in. This is how ultimately your essential part will go. Welcome to Hyatt. May I have your last name on the reservation? And I see you're with us staying for 2 nights, room with a king-size bed. Just need your picture ID and a form of payment, please. I do have email address for you on file, smith23@gmail.com, as this is the email I should send the electronic copy of your receipt to. Now, depending on your country, you may or you may not ask for a mobile phone of the guest. That depends really from country to country. And I do see that we have a reservation request for the early check-in. I'm happy to share that we're able to check you in earlier. We have plenty of rooms available today. And are you also a World of Hyatt member? Are you a Marriott Bonvoy member? Are you a Hilton member? Anything that here, depending on your brand, depending on your company, you will confirm the loyalty membership. That's truly something that we want to do, especially to encourage more travel. One thing that I would share from my personal opinion, and maybe not many people in this industry will agree with me, is that we always aim to say, make sure you do mention guest last name and for 3 times and do say Mr. Smith and this and that. I honestly will share my opinion, being in the industry for so many years and growing from the front desk and seeing what's happening. In our days, guests really doesn't care. All people want quick, easy, hassle-free check-in and let me go to my room. I don't need, and more questions sometimes trigger more even frustration. So you need to choose, and you kind of need to read body language of your guest and feel if it's appropriate to say, Mr. Smith, I need your picture ID. Mr. Smith, I have your email address, and Mr. Smith, I see you have an early check-in request. So make a call. I would say go from each situation to situation. The memorable process is what makes it really special. So let's review in details what goes into memorable process. Well, there are a few components. So the first piece that goes into memorable process is reading the clues. And we'll chat in details what reading the clues is. Then using the information that you have in the system. In nowadays, whatever you're using, OnQ, full service PMS, Lightspeed, and Opera, all those things are great, and they do already have something in the profile for your guest. So use that information. Whether if you can see if your guest stayed in previous property, and you can ask how was your stay in that hotel. Sometimes you can see on your picture ID, you can check the date of birth, and perhaps it's the birthday for the guest today, or perhaps you can see any specific notes for the guest from the previous hotel stays. Use that information to start a conversation. I personally, when I was a front desk agent, I found it very difficult for me to engage and open up with the guest and starting the conversation. So use the information that you have. It's pretty helpful. Next, part of the memorable experience is personalizing your guest check-in. Now, when you learn something about your guest, whether this guest likes to stay in a more quiet floor or prefers more higher floor, or guest prefers extra bottles of water, use that information to personalize it, offer additional amenities, or just have a conversation. Honestly, nothing goes better than just having that authentic connection rather than just trying to add those things. Then as a hoteliers, and from my personal experience, we try to do this type of thing so much and so often. And I'll give you a quick example. For example, we'd like to send an amenity to the guest and expect that our guest is going to be wowed, but perhaps you're sending something that you don't know. You might send an alcohol to the guest who doesn't drink alcohol, or you might send a product that guest is allergic to. So personalizing experience doesn't mean doing anything crazy. It could be something very simple. And of course, the most important piece is engaging with your guest, which comes before anything. So how do you engage with your guest, you're going to ask? And this was some of my personal challenges. Again, when I was front office agent, I didn't know how to start off those conversations and kind of what to say. And but it's pretty easy. You just have to find what you're comfortable with and just choose a one word or one phrase, and that's going to be it. You don't have to go over again and again and with different notes, with different things for every single guest. Remember, you as an agent, you're checking in about, 25, 50, over 70 guests in the hotel in the course of one shift, depending on the size of your property. So you're the one who is checking in, but you have 70 different guests that don't know that you're asking the same question. So if your opener of the conversation is something like, how's your day? It's okay. You can ask, how's your day? All the guests that you're checking in during your shift. Once again, let's take a look at our arrival model, because when we look into the detail and discuss, it seems so much information. In reality, it's pretty easy, but it just takes a practice. All right, well, now let's imagine that you're checking in this family to the hotel. What your check-in will look like. Based on discussions that we just had, I would do something like, welcome to the Hyatt. May I have a picture ID and a form of payment, please? I see your reservation with us for 2 nights, room with 2 double beds. And what is the email address you would like me to use to send you a copy of folio to? And I see we have a request for the early check-in. I'm happy to share we're able to do that. And are you a Hyatt member? Do you have a loyalty membership with us? Now, the awkward moment that happens after this, while you're processing everything in the system, the silence. So the silence moment you need to use to do the memorable portion of this. And it's pretty easy. So engage with your guest, like ask the question, what brings you to us? And after the response, you can also certainly read the clues. The clues that I'm picking up here, these guests are not in the rush. They're here with a family event. So I would offer, do you have any plans for the evening? And depending on the response, I perhaps can personalize and offer a complimentary movie on me or milk and cookies for the kids. And depending on the information I have in the system, I can take this further and to the next step. So everything we discussed in this 15-minute video, you literally can incorporate within a 2-minute check-in. It's just in no particular order you need to feel how your check-in goes. Quick reminder here, there's no particular order on how you do this, because you're working with the guest and guest is going to ask you probably questions that are going to cover already some of this. You need to feel each situation. There's no special order to this. It's just memorable part, preferably you're doing when you have all the information and you process it in the system to avoid the awkward silence. Okay, let's take a look at one more example of the check-in. But what I want you to do here is pause this video and train and practice how would you do the check-in for this guest prior to listening what I'm going to say. All right, so here's what I would do. Welcome to Marriott Hotels. Just need your picture ID and a form of payment, please. All right, I see you're staying with us in a room with a king-size bed. And I have an email for you on file as janes26@gmail.com. I also see that we have a request for you farther away from elevator. Is that correct? Okay. I think I can definitely get your room farther away from elevator, and I see we have your membership on file, so thank you for being a loyalty member. Now, here's the moment of the awkward silence. When I'm processing everything, I ask my guest, what brings you to us? How's your day going? And I'm reading the clues. I see body language, guest is in a rush, so I'm not going to further take this with any other comments. I'm just going to quickly process everything for you. And I see that you're having a meeting at the Canon facilities. If you would like to, we have a complimentary shuttle, and I will be happy to schedule that for you. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. All right, so that's what my check-in would sound like. Okay, let's take a look at the final video for this training. Welcome to the Hilton. I have your reservation with us for 2 nights room with the king size bed. Just need your picture ID and a form of payment to finalize the check-in, Mr. Smith. Email on file for you is johns95@yahoo.com. Is that a good email to use to send a copy of the folio to? All right, thank you very much. I have a pre-arrival request for you for the room on the lower level, so I'll be happy to accommodate that. Also, I see you're a Diamond member. Thank you for your loyalty. Really appreciate that. And here for my engaging question, I'm going to ask, Mr. Smith, I see you stayed with us in many different hotels, and you have over 95 stays for the last year. Would you mind sharing with me what's your favorite property? And this is really favorite question of the Diamond members, which I noticed it really strikes them to tell me about where they traveled, what they did, and talk about different properties and different amenities. And honestly, I really enjoy learning about that. So that's kind of my go-to questions when I'm checking in an elite member. And certainly reading the clues, I see that this couple is here with a pet, so I'm going to provide some pet amenities and probably send something to the room, depending on what I have. I'm going to finalize my check-in with using the information I have and making it more comfortable and enjoyable for the guests, providing additional pet amenities. And thank you for staying with us. If you need anything, please do let me know. Elevators are straight on your left. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this video. Just remember, I suggest you to learn these things not only because you want to be great professional, because you want to increase your check-in scores, or maybe you're just interested in learning these things, or maybe you just enjoy working at the front office. As much as stressful it could be, the first thing that I want you to learn these things for is to make your life easier. Because there's nothing worse when you're standing at the desk, guest after guest after desk, and you're not feeling it, you're not feeling comfortable, you don't know what to say, you don't know how to handle the situation. Just make this process enjoyable for you, because sometimes we spend more time at the work than we spend at home. I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment below if there's anything special you would like to see, or there's any specific subject you would like to be discussed, and I will see you next. Thank you.